Ever feel like you're just drowning in digital information? Well, in this explainer, we're going to deconstruct a pretty bold framework that claims it can turn all that digital chaos into massive value. It's a vision that supposedly scales all the way from startups to trillion-dollar funds. Okay, let's get right into it. So the whole philosophy we're exploring is built on this one core idea. It's not just about keeping up with change, but getting so far ahead that you're the one creating it. This perspective really frames the entire approach we're about to unpack. All right, so what's the big problem this vision is trying to solve? The source material calls it navigating the wild, wild web, which, kind of feels right for our modern digital world. It's become so complex, and it all boils down to three key things. First off, just the sheer pace of change. I mean, think about how fast a new AI model or a new social platform can pop up and take over. The argument here is that this constant churn makes it almost impossible for anyone to find stable ground. And all this change, it doesn't just add new stuff, it creates this incredible complexity. Every new piece of tech has to somehow work with all the old stuff, creating this tangled mess. The source calls it a strategic nightmare, because every single decision you make can have all these ripple effects you didn't see coming. So when you mix constant change with massive complexity, what do you get? Yep, uncertainty. When the landscape is always shifting under your feet, how can you possibly make a confident long-term decision? That paralysis is the exact problem this framework is designed to solve. So here's the crucial point they make. The challenge isn't about getting more data. We are absolutely swimming in data. The real challenge is moving past just collecting it to actually understanding what it all means, and more importantly, what to do about it. Now, who's proposing a way through all this chaos? Let's take a look at the company behind this framework. They position themselves as pioneers who have a long, long history of dealing with these exact kinds of challenges. The framework comes from a company called Global Risk Management Network, and in their own materials, they position themselves as leaders in digital transformation with roots that go all the way back to the early 1990s. To back this up, they present this 30-year journey. They claim a progression that starts with advising Silicon Valley VCs back in the 90s, then moves to leading trillion-dollar Wall Street hedge funds, and finally to advising tech teams at the Pentagon. The whole point of this trajectory is to show they have expertise in really high-stakes environments. Okay, so with that background out of the way, we can finally get to the core of their solution. It's a method they call the KBM framework, and it's designed to cut right through that digital chaos we were just talking about. It's built on three pillars: know, build, and monetize. The logic is actually pretty straightforward. First, you have to truly know and understand the best practices out there. Then, you use that deep knowledge to build effective systems. And finally, you monetize those systems by creating real, tangible value. So what does it really mean to know? Well, they're talking about mastering a whole range of advanced technologies. We're talking AI, machine learning, cybersecurity, blockchain, even quantum computing. The goal is to have a deep, integrated expertise, not just to be familiar with the buzzwords. The build and monetize steps are where all that knowledge gets put into action. It's about creating new business practices, sure, but it's also about building what the source calls self-adaptive complex systems. Think of these as systems that are smart enough to learn and evolve on their own so they can handle that constant digital change without you having to intervene all the time. This entire framework leads to what the source says is a fundamental shift in how we should be using information. It's about moving away from the endless, scattered act of searching and toward a much more powerful state of knowing. So let's compare the two approaches. The old way is what we all do, right? We're on Google, Wikipedia, trying to piece together answers from all over the place. The new way they propose uses curated tools to give you direct insights. They call this the 1% solution, the idea that you can get the right answer immediately and avoid all that other time wasted just searching. The tech that makes this possible is what the source calls meta search portals. So think of it less like a search engine that just gives you a list of links, and more like your own automated research assistant. It's designed to give you structured insights and even create visual knowledge maps so you can see how all the different ideas connect. And this all leads us to the final and probably the most audacious claim in the source material. This is the ultimate value proposition that ties everything together. 90%. That's the number at the very heart of the promise. It's a huge figure, and it's definitely designed to grab your attention. So what does that number even mean? The core promise is a 90% reduction in the time, the cost, and the resources it takes you to get things done. It's a really bold claim of radical efficiency for anyone who adopts this approach. This quote really just wraps the entire argument up in a nutshell. It frames the choice not as being between different search tools, but between two completely different ways of operating. You can either keep searching endlessly, or you can move into this more powerful cycle of knowing, building, and creating value. So we'll leave you with this question to chew on. Think about your own work. How much of your day is spent just searching for information versus the amount of time you spend actually knowing what you need to do to build and create? It's a thought worth considering.